with another video from Ignite. Today we're going to be going into a kind of an interesting subject today, as was requested in my Discord, to cover how best to run a server and maintain like the politics and such of doing so, and maintain having a healthy server. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, and it's going to be mostly my opinions, but it's also something that is tried and true, as I have ran 2 servers now that have been pretty good servers. But anyway, before we get into all that, we'll get into the usual semantics of things. First off, there will be a link in the description below and on the screen right now that is for our very first sponsor, from where you can get anywhere from 5 to 40% off all in-game purchases. Now, right now, unfortunately, it's only available for Android, but it is there. They're trying to make it for Apple as well, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, 5 to 40% off of all purchases, and frankly, I use it for every purchase, and I actually use it as my main game mode anymore, because it seems to just be a lot more stable than the Google Play Store version. On top of that, with our Discord, that link will be in the description below as well. And with that, as we continue to grow in subscribers, and finally when YouTube monetizes, or when we build up enough funding from this current sponsor that we have, the first 3 months I will be giving away 100% of all earnings to people in a drawing that are both in my Discord and subscribed to the YouTube channel. After that, I'll be giving 25% away to whoever is subscribed and in my Discord channel each month. With that being said, we'll get right into it. Okay, so this one is kind of a interesting and different subject. So really, I guess the very first thing to take into account is what kind of server do you want it to be? Because there's only a few different ways to really make a successful server. Either you can have a no rules, essentially, PvP server, which seems to attract certain people. You can have a very strict and dynasty-like server, or you can have more of like a support system kind of server. And what I did was it was always kind of a support system kind of server. Now again, is that I'm not exactly a weak player. I was always kind of one of the strongest, so when rogues came in and such like that, a lot of people would look to me to handle that kind of situation. So that puts you in a scenario sometimes that it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, there's only so much you can do. Now with servers that are like a full PvP server, and you know, they're essentially just a server full of rogues, full PvP, no rules, anything like that. Not my game style, but you know, some people like it, and so more power to them. The third is like a dynasty. With those, I always find it very dangerous to do that, or even think about doing that, because with having a straight dynasty like that, you open the doors to get a lot of resentment, and honestly, the server either dying because they're going to leave your server because they don't want to play around you, or, you know, various other things, or inviting rogues in. So the question would be is, which kind of server do you want? For me, I've always wanted and have made 2 servers to be where it's a very supportive of each other, but things like, you know, the king buff, and the tree, all that, always goes towards the people that are essentially making the most points. And the reason for that being is because even though we have these back-to-back islands and stuff like that, if those buffs actually help for the server to get more points, then it's just a logical use to do so. However, there are some servers that do like a nap 10, you know, nap 5, whatever. That's really something that can happen more in the younger days of the server, when, you know, you're trying to build the server up. but power should not be a basis on what an alliance is worth. So if you were going to go the NAP5 route or whatever, I would base it off of SVS scores, and also take into consideration if they happen to be on island or anything like that, because especially like with gathering day and such, when you're on island, that can definitely get messed up quite a bit. So that's a few things to consider. Now for me, it's never been so much about a NAP per se as much as agreements between alliances, which I think is the best way to go. Because if you're friends with everybody on the server, then you don't have any problems. You don't have any beefs. You know, nothing really changes. Now for me, I've never been one to attack people on my server unless they are attacking my people first. I don't port out of my hive. I don't try to go being a bully or anything like that. I've always tried to resolve things mostly with talking. So now that comes down to the question of, well, how do you go about the diplomacy side of trying to handle certain situations? Well, one of the key things with that is, one of the most important things is be honest. You need to be 100% honest when you are talking to whatever's going on or trying to figure out what's going on. Try to keep yourself in a cool, collected manner so that you can, whether it be collecting information to try to figure out the problem and then find a solution, whatever it may be. But if you are being seen as the one that is running the server, then you need to have that kind of figurehead and that collectiveness to be able to maintain and solve problems. Now, there's not always going to be a problem that has an easy solution. Like if you have a bunch of rogues that come in, it is what it is. But what you can do is have a set baseline of rules from the very beginning of the server, or the very beginning of when you start ruling a server. And those guidelines can be like what we had, where rogues aren't tolerated. If anybody is caught harboring a rogue, then they are no longer part of any agreements. Things like that deter people from turning the server very toxic. We also have rules like if your alliances are fighting or whatever, there's no forced teleportation, so that way people's like gathering days and such like that don't get messed up. We also have rules like when we're on SVS that like the SVS War Day, you maintain at least a 4.5 million march in a squirter at all times, otherwise you should be gathering. It's just little things like that that really do make a big difference, because they're not hard rules to follow. If you're hitting somebody, don't hit them more than like 4 times, so you don't mess up a potential SVS score or anything like that. So that would be one of the main baseline things that I would say that you really want to focus on trying to do, is set down some baseline rules. If you want to go the NAP route, I suggest doing it by SVS. Me personally, I think it's a lot better just having agreements between alliances, and so if there's a falling out between one alliance and another, it doesn't upset the actual structure of the entire zone. Because if everybody's getting along together, each of the R5s or whatever can make their own decision as to what to do. But on top of that, the next thing I would definitely suggest is, do you want to have all of your R5s feeling like they have a voice? If they are in the server, they should have a voice in the matters. So what I have done in the past is I've set up a separate Discord room for just the R5s. We put things to vote as far as any changes to server rules, anything like that. If there was a tree rotation, we would discuss it there. We have had set tree rotations that have kind of fallen apart because of rogues and such like that. But it's good to have everybody involved so they feel like it's one big family. So that would be another real key thing that I would suggest. But the last thing that I'm going to say, and probably yet again one of the most important things, is patience. you need to be patient with people, because you're going to have people coming to you angry, and they're going to piss you off because they're going to say crap that you don't like. And don't fight aggression with aggression. Now, if it comes down to, like, obviously they're attacking your alliance and all that, and there's no way to be able to mediate any kind of conversation, then absolutely that becomes a fight. Make sure you have, your people are shielded up. You fight it out. It gets solved that way, or it doesn't. Whatever. There's going to be times when you're going to have to fight, and that was one of the things that always helped me too with running servers, because everybody knew that, and they still do to this day, that I do not attack people. I don't even attack dead hills. So if I am actually attacking somebody, there's no more negotiation. It's done. And we've wiped out entire alliances that have, broken the rules and don't want to negotiate, and we have chased them off until they left the server, or quit, or joined us. So it's always going to be a balance, but you really need to figure out what kind of actual server that you want to have for yourself. This video was a little bit longer, about average, but it wasn't too bad. But if you have any questions or comments, the easiest way to be able to get them answers is if you join on Discord. If you have any video ideas, Discord or in the comments below. If you have any, like I said, that this is all based on my own perception of things. So if you have anything that you might suggest that has worked for you or whatever, or what you think, feel free to discuss it. We're always open for discussions and improving each other. But with that, Egna is out.